So you've got a team of developers all working on the same code base. It doesn't take long before things can get, well, messy, really fast. So how do you manage all those changes without constantly breaking things? You need a system, right? A set of rules to turn that potential chaos into controlled, predictable progress.
Let me ask you a question, and this might hit a little too close to home for some of you. Is your main branch always broken? I mean, are you constantly afraid to deploy because you just aren't sure what's actually going into the release? If that sounds familiar, you're definitely not alone. That feeling, that fear, it's a classic sign that your workflow is out of control.
See, without a clear process, development just becomes a free-for-all. You've got features getting merged before they're ready, bug fixes getting lost in the shuffle, and your main branch basically turns into a minefield. And that makes every single release this painful, uncertain event full of last-minute scrambles and a whole lot of stress.
So, how do we fix this? Well, one of the most popular answers out there is a structured method called GitFlow. It was popularized by Vincent Driesen, and it's designed for one very specific purpose: to bring order to the madness of collaborative development.
At its heart, GitFlow is all about one thing: protecting your production code. Think of it like a firewall between the messy, in-progress work and the clean, stable code that your users depend on. The whole point is to create a robust and predictable process for releases, making sure that your main branch is always in a deployable state.
Okay, so this slide is basically the blueprint for the whole system. With GitFlow, you have two permanent branches: main, for your rock-solid production code, and develop, where all new features get integrated. All the new work happens on temporary feature branches, and those merge back into develop. But, and this is the most important rule of all, when you finish release or hotfix branches, they must merge back into both main and develop. That dual merge is the absolute key to keeping everything in sync and stable.
Okay, so that's the theory. But, a theory is pretty useless if you can't enforce it. And this is where Bitbucket really shines. The best part? You don't even need a special plugin. The tools to govern GitFlow are built right into the platform, and they are incredibly powerful.
The easiest way to think about it is as a two-part system. First, you've got the definition layer. That's Bitbucket's branching model. This is where you basically teach Bitbucket the rules of your GitFlow game. And then you've got the enforcement layer, which is branch permissions. This is where you give those rules some serious teeth and make them unbreakable policy.
Now, this definition layer is so much more than just a naming convention. When you tell Bitbucket that any branch starting with feature is a feature branch, the entire user interface becomes context-aware. It'll automatically suggest you branch from develop. When you go to create a pull request, it'll default the target to develop. It gently guides every single developer down the right path.
And if you think this is just a friendly suggestion, it's not. It's actually a technical requirement. That little slash in features/myFeature tells Git to organize branches in a specific folder-like structure. If you get this wrong, you can run into real, frustrating errors like the one you see here. It proves that these naming conventions are fundamental, not just some arbitrary rule someone made up.
All right, now for the muscle. Branch permissions. These are your gatekeepers. This is the feature that physically stops anyone, I don't care if you're a junior dev or the lead architect, from pushing directly to main or develop. It takes your workflow from being a suggestion to being a hard and fast rule, forcing every single change through a controlled pull request.
So here's what a typical setup looks like. For your main branch, you lock it down completely. No direct write access, period. The only way in is through a pull request that needs, say, 2 approvals and a successful build from your CI system. For develop, you still block direct pushes, but maybe you only require 1 approval. This setup guarantees that every line of code gets reviewed before it gets integrated, keeping the whole system stable.
I know, this might seem a little complicated, especially that mandatory dual merge for releases and hotfixes. But here's the good news. You don't have to do it manually. Client tools like SourceTree actually have GitFlow automation built right in. With literally 1 click, it can finish a release, which means it automatically merges to both main and develop, it creates the version tag, and it deletes the branch for you. This kind of automation is a lifesaver for preventing common human errors.
But here's where the story takes a little twist. While GitFlow is amazing for ensuring stability, the industry has also been shifting towards a different model, one that's all about speed. And that brings us to the modern challenger, trunk-based development.
And get this. In their own documentation, Atlassian, the company that makes Bitbucket, actually refers to GitFlow as a legacy Git workflow. Whoa, that's a pretty strong statement, right?
And it comes from the fact that GitFlow's long-lived branches can sometimes slow things down and make integration more complex, which is kind of the opposite of what modern CI/CD is trying to achieve.
So what is this alternative? It's called trunk-based development, or TBD for short. And the philosophy here is, well, it's completely different. Developers merge very small, very frequent updates directly into the main branch. The entire model is built from the ground up, for speed, for continuous integration, and for continuous delivery.
This slide just lays out the trade-off perfectly. GitFlow is like a massive cargo ship. It's stable, it's predictable, and it carries a huge payload. It's perfect for scheduled versioned releases. Trunk-based development, on the other hand, is like a busy highway, with cars merging in and out constantly. It's all about getting those frequent, small updates out the door, and it's basically a prerequisite if you want to do high-velocity CI/CD.
So here's the crucial point. This isn't about which model is better. That's the wrong question. It's about which model is right for your team, for your project, and for your release schedule. Context is absolutely everything here.
And despite all the hype around TBD, GitFlow is still, without a doubt, the superior choice in some very specific scenarios. If you manage multiple version software releases out in the wild, if you need long-term maintenance branches, or if you have large distributed teams, the structure of GitFlow is invaluable. It's for projects where predictability and stability are way more important than raw deployment speed.
Ultimately, it all comes down to this one question that you need to ask your team. Are you optimizing your process for speed and continuous delivery, or are you optimizing for rock-solid stability and predictable versioned releases? There's no single right answer, but knowing which one is your top priority, that's the key to choosing the right workflow for you.